Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. So, yeah, sorry I was late.
Hey, Boyle. Nice to
Hi,
see you.
Bo.
I was doing the 5 whys. Oh my goodness. Oh my
Just
goodness.
now.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I am juiced right now. That's all I'm gonna say. I am, yeah. Ooh.
Great. I did them about two hours ago, so that was an awesome experience. It was really deep.
Oh man. It's just yeah, yeah. So we're here. How is everyone? Hello, welcome in.
Great.
Hello. I'm just gonna let people file in here. Has anyone had any questions in regards to how the daily lessons are working? I think people did reach out to do a European Rome reading room, and I think Bart is gonna step up to take care of that. But I just wanted to get a temperature check on that.
Great.
And yeah, people are still filing in here. Just make sure everyone signed into the in the Rome reading room. You'll have a little list to sign up to read. I'm just gonna go and put this in the sign. Hold on, people are filing in. Let me turn my Bluetooth off on my phone. There we go. I don't know what happened to my AirPods. Hold on. Okay, people are still filing in here. Hey guys, I can't. What is this saying? I can't join to read today, but was hoping to listen. Okay. No, it's not. You have to read, Nikki. I'm kidding. Yeah, just feel free to just listen in. All this is going to be recorded as well, so I'll post this into the shared graph. Okay, AirPods Pro speaker. There we go. Check. Hear me? Excellent. So let me go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and open this. Let me pop this out real quick. Okay, and then I'll pop this out. And then boom, I'll put that in that screen. Now I can see everyone. Again, I am recording here. And I've got this, and I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen actually. You know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and share the screen. I think it's this one. Yeah. Boom. Can everyone see?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I will zoom in. Let me just go and get everything ready here first. So yeah, just make sure everyone signs in over here. If you go into the Rome Reading Room page, you'll have a list to sign up. And it looks like we've got a ton of people that have signed up. And we're almost ready here. It's so good seeing everyone. Again, like I said, if you're just joining, I just got done with the 5 whys, so I'm a little wiped. Needless to say.
Yeah, this is Joshua out of Italy. I spent a good solid 2 hours going through that. That was pretty good.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Me too. I needed to repeat the soundtrack twice.
Yeah.
It's challenging though. I got the 3 Ys out of 5. The 4th and 5th will be later today, I think.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then summarize everything at the top level parent block. But I think it's so important. I think it's so important to figure out why we want to do this. You know, I think, you know, everyone talks about the Zettelkasten, but it's not that it's difficult. There's just a long time period from when you start before you start seeing the results. And it's, you know, you have to have that why that's going to sustain you past. It's not instant gratification. That's the thing. It's compound interest. So it's like you can have the instant gratification of $1,000 a day, you know, and it's instant. It's like boom, 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 you know, highlight this, take a quote from that, copy this, paste that, you know, just take what the author is saying. but the compound interest doesn't happen until a while once you hit a critical mass. So it's just about getting everyone, give everyone enough of a runway so they can get to that point where, okay, now we're taking off. Now I'm starting to see it talking back to me. But again, we'll talk about all that. So everyone can see the screen. I'm going to go and zoom into the text just a bit more. Maybe that'll help. I feel like this is pretty good. Everyone can see. And so, yeah, I mean, I look at it like this. There's no really any rules or anything to this. I feel like this is just an open way to read the book together, as well as, you know, any discussions that come up as we're reading along, anything that's related to the text or anything you're struggling with, anything that you have an insight with. And I see a lot of familiar faces. How are you, Curtis? And so, yeah, it's there. That's just how we're going to go. And, you know, we do have over 22, 24, 25 people sign up for readers. So I think it's just being mindful of that. And I don't have any rules, hard, fast rules on like how long you're supposed to read for. You can read a paragraph, you can read multiple paragraphs, you can read the whole page if you want. So it's just sort of, yeah, it's open, however you'd want to. Contextually, is that a lot of readers or not many? I think it's a lot. I mean, last time we were averaging about 12 to 15. So I think this is good. But again, this is a much larger group too. So let's go ahead and start off. Is Jeff, do you want to go ahead and start off here? Is Jeff here?
Sure. Yeah, I'm here. I'd be happy to. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
You can hear me, correct? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to just read one paragraph. Everybody writes, especially in academia. Students write and professors write, and nonfiction writers, who are in the third group of people this book is aiming to help, obviously write as well. Writing doesn't necessarily mean papers, articles, or books, but everyday basic writing. We write when we need to remember something, be it an idea, a quote, or the outcome of a study. We write when we want to organize our thoughts and when we want to exchange ideas with others. Students write when they take an exam, but the first thing they do to prepare, even for an oral examination, is to grab a pen and paper. We write down not only those things we fear we won't remember otherwise, but also the very things we try to memorize. Every intellectual endeavor starts with a note. I was just going to read one paragraph. Well,
Okay. So you're passing? Excellent.
I'm passing.
Okay. Lee?
Are we going to have discussions about these paragraphs as we do it?
If you want to. Did anything come up for you?
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at it like just letting it emerge in regards to, you know, if something really sort of stands out to you, if something sort of like is an aha moment for you, then yeah, of course. And it's sort of, if all you have to do is just unmute yourself and just be like, hey, I'd like to just chime in. This reminds me of this, or whatever that looks like.
Okay.
Hey, this is Michael Walsh. Can I just say something here?
Yeah.
So what really struck me about this is the first time I read the book, my impression was that it was really focused on academia. It was really focused on writing for the public or the academic public. And that was the key here. But this paragraph strikes me as something much broader, that writing is so important. We can be writing for ourselves because writing itself is part of our thinking process. And I think that makes the book more valuable to me.
Yeah, I thought every intellectual endeavor starts with me. It's just whatever you're doing. Somehow it starts with a note, even if you don't write it down. Something catches your eye and it starts an intellectual endeavor.
Right.
Sorry, I lost audio there. So could you say that one more time? Sorry.
Yeah, this is
Who were you asking to say one more time?
Michael.
Oh, just let me see if I could summarize it a little bit better. My impression of the book was that it was really focused on people in academia who were writing academic work for people in their area to read. But this paragraph really is much broader than that. And it basically says, you know, every note that we make, or notes, we can't even think deeply about something if we don't start off by writing a note. Writing is so essential to that process. And that makes the book more valuable to me than the first time I read it.
And I'll also mention that, you know, when Sonke, you know, was writing the book, I mean, the purpose, like his reason for doing all of this was because as a professor, he wanted to make sure that his students had a way for them to take notes that would be a lifelong skill or a lifelong journey. And so he was directing his book, How to Take Smart Notes, to his students, to his future students and his past students. So it is something to think about as well. And what I've realized is, you know, when I jumped on the coaching sessions with him, it was like he kept on telling me like he doesn't know what it looks like for the creative arts. And I would continue to rebuttal that with saying, well, what is insight? Insight is basically exploring what you don't know and putting two things together. And I go, well, isn't that the exact same thing as making great art? I mean, as an actor, it's like when I go up on stage to perform, it's the exact same thing. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm exploring it. It's almost like when you see a figure skater, it's not the most technically savvy figure skater that wins. It's the one that's pushing the limits of what they've trained to do, but also what they're willing to explore, that they are sort of edging. It's like an edge case of like, they could literally, everything can fall over. And it's sort of that idea that I sort of latched onto. And if anything, walking through RBC 3 and RBC 2, it is also incredibly useful for creative people, in my opinion. Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
This is Chandu from San Diego. I actually want to, you know, talk about something that is relevant to me and like how I look at things. The first paragraph, in a lot of ways, introduction itself, I think, like, you know, stands out in describing clearly what the author is trying to do. And it seems there is a lot of work that has gone into coming at like the broader brush of like who this is catering to. It's not just the academics, it's for everybody. Students, professors, nonfiction writers, that's the first sentence that stands out. But most importantly, it tries to connect writing is a natural thing, and it has nothing to do with having a specific goal. In the first iteration itself, you don't need to have everything condensed. And the first paragraph is a good example of how much work has gone into to come to that level. The way it relates to me, like we do a lot of sales presentations and like, you know, pre-sales, proof of values, proof of concepts. It's always, you know, you start with value proposition, you start with benefits, and you start with the key takeaways for what the audience has to take out of this presentation. But that comes last. So if you start over there at like, you know, the most condensed form of it, it's quite difficult to traverse. And this is making it more evident for me, and the way it relates to me, you do the work, and then the value comes naturally, organically. And that should be the intention of how you actually even take up a simple task such as writing.
But don't you
writing
think
is not necessarily for one task.
But don't you think our entire culture and society is inundated with ways to pull us away from that? Because it's all about how like it's how 6 days to master Rome, or like, you know, 5 minutes to do anything, or these 5 skills to learn anything. And it's just like, I think like what we're going to explore is this idea of how can we slow things down in this society where everything is so fast. And I think you're hitting the nail on the head. And I think as we explore this book together, I think we'll see more and more of that. And that's really what I want to instill as well, is just that idea of let's slow things down. And rather than saying let's slow things down, because everyone wants that, how can we slow things down? And I feel like that's what the next 30 some odd days is going to be about, is how can we slow that down?
Absolutely. Cool. No, so the why was compelling now I'm actually quite interested and excited to see the how. So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
Excellent. Do we want to keep? Do we want to keep reading? Lee, I believe Lee is up.
Yeah, I am. Thanks, Bo. I was just going to say to finish on the last thought, I find it exciting also to go through this. I was in book club 3, but only made it halfway through with you. So sorry for that. I was going to say it wasn't going fast enough for me, so I got to learn to pace myself here too. I think it's exciting because, you know, for me, writing is more technical, not so much academic driven, but very technical and nonfiction geared. And so for me, in the path I've gone, it's never really been laid out for me about how you do that. How do you effectively take notes? How do you do it in a way that, as been pointed out in many other forums, it doesn't go into that black hole, never to come back again for me, right? So I'm looking forward to kind of going through this slowly and effectively and figuring out where do I find value and how can I do it in a way that is repeatable and contributes and, you know, and adds to what I do and what I can give to others. So,
yeah.
So I'll go forward here with the next paragraph. Writing plays such a central role in learning, studying, and research that it's surprising how little we think about it. If writing is discussed, the focus lies almost always on the few exceptional moments where we write a lengthy piece, a book, an article, or as students, the essays and theses we have to hand in. At first glance, this makes sense. These are the tasks that cause the most anxiety and with which we struggle the longest. Consequently, these written pieces are also what most self-help books for academics or study guides focus on, but very few give guidance for the everyday note-taking that takes up the biggest chunk of our writing. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Next paragraph. Oh, okay. The available books fall roughly into 2 categories. The first teaches the formal requirements, style, structure, and how to quote correctly. And then there are the psychological ones, which teach you how to get it done without mental breakdowns and before your supervisor or publisher starts refusing to move the deadline once more.
Yeah, I hear that.
What they all have in common, though, is that they start with a blank screen or sheet of paper. By doing this, they ignore the main part, namely note-taking, failing to understand that improving the organization of all writing makes a difference. They seem to forget that the process of writing starts much, much earlier than a blank screen, than that blank screen, and that the actual writing down of the argument is the smallest part of its development. This book aims to fill this gap by showing you how to efficiently turn your thoughts and discoveries into convincing written pieces and build up a treasure of smart and interconnected notes along the way. You can use this pool of notes not only to make writing easier and more fun for yourself, but also to learn for the long run and generate new ideas. But most of all, you can write every day in a way that brings your projects forward.
Lee, what does blank page feel like for you? What does that mean to you? What is this idea of a blank
even
page?
as I was reading it, Bo, even as I was reading it, makes my hair stand on end. And there's not a lot left, mind you. So it really does. I don't, you know, I don't feel like I'm a writer. And when I see or hear people writing, you know, prose or fiction or something that I enjoy reading, I'm always in awe of how that's generated and how that's put together. So when I think of that blank sheet of paper, I think of those moments of panic, right? Where does it go from here?
Yeah, I think we can all raise our hands to that. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to keep going or do you want to pass? Okay.
I'll pass here.
Okay, and I'm just gonna let the group sort of just say, okay, I'm passing it off to next person or whatever. I don't want to be the one that's sort of moderating that either. Is Alessandra here? Let me see if this is in the list. We'll skip Dean. Is Dean here? No? Akshita? No? I'm looking at the list right now. I don't see them. Michael Walsh.
Yeah, I guess I'm here. Writing is not what follows research, learning, or studying. It is the medium of all this work. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
And maybe that's the reason why we rarely think about this writing, the everyday writing, the note-taking and draft making. Like breathing, it is vital to what we do. But because we do it constantly, it escapes our attention. But while even the best breathing technique would probably not make much of a difference to our writing, any improvement in the way we organize the everyday writing, how we take notes of what we encounter and what we do with them, will make all the difference for the moment we do face the blank page, screen, or rather not, as those who take smart notes will never have the problem of a blank screen again. Should I continue?
Well, there's something interesting. I don't know if this is relevant or not, but when I was a manager, whenever anyone came to my office to talk to me, if they didn't have a pad and a pencil, I sent them away.
Yeah, and in the business I was in, same thing. You walk into my office, and you don't have a pad. It's like strike one.
Yeah, it's like, so you don't think I'm going to say anything interesting, do you?
Okay. There was another reason that note-taking flies mostly under the radar. We don't experience any immediate negative feedback if we do it badly. But without an immediate experience of failure, there's also not much demand for help. In the publishing market working how it works, there is not much help and supply for this lack of demand either. It is the panic in front of the blank screen that brings students and academic writers to turn to the bookshelves full of self-help books on writing. A market publishers meet in droves by focusing on how to deal with this horse has already left the barn situation. If we take notes unsystematically, inefficiently, or simply wrong, we might not even realize it until we are in the midst of a deadline panic and wonder why there always seem to be few who get a lot of good writing done and still have time for a coffee every time we ask them. And even then, it is more likely that some form of rationalization will cloud the view of the actual reason, which is most likely the difference between good and bad note-taking. Some people are just like that. Writing has to be difficult. The struggle is part of the deal, are just a few of the mantras that keep too many from inquiring what exactly distinguishes successful writing strategies from less successful ones.
If I can jump in here, I just really think it's neat that Sonke here actually is kind of referencing like having a limiting belief around your own ability and assigning a sentence or a phrase to it that is like, oh, it's supposed to be like this. It's meant to be difficult. I'm not doing it if I'm not pushing through it, you know, and that goes along with kind of hustle culture that's been really celebrated. But actually, I just really like that he's noted that, because I think letting go of some of that is what, from our original meeting on Sunday, a few different people had shared, like wanting to let go of some of that limiting belief, you know, and even looking into what I know for myself, what I wrote on day one was like just sticking to the process and letting go of some of that inner dialogue that limits you.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful point, and Sonke seems to be saying, I love the phrase, you know, the horse has already left the barn. If you're at the point where you're staring at the blank page, that you really just have to let go. Should I continue?
I think they want you to make an audiobook. That's what it looks like in the comments.
Think we know.
Or we're loving this
Come on
personal
now.
audiobook. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, I'll try another paragraph. Let's
Sure.
see. The right question is, what can we do differently in the weeks, months, or even years before we face the blank page that will get us into the best possible position to write a great paper easily? Very few people struggle with their papers because they don't know how to cite correctly, or because they suffer from a psychological issue that keeps them from writing. Few struggle to text their friends or write email. The rules of citation can be looked up, and there is no way that there are as many mental issues as papers postponed, where I relate to that. Most people struggle for much more mundane reasons, and one is the myth of the blank page itself. They struggle because they believe, as they are made to believe, that writing starts with the blank page. If you believe that you have indeed nothing at hand to fill it, you have a very good reason to panic. Just having it all in your head is not enough, as getting it down on paper is the hard bit. That is why good, productive writing is based on good note-taking. Getting something that is already written into another written piece is incomparably easier than assembling everything in your mind and then trying to retrieve it from there.
Mike, do you think that sounds pretty hopeful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I think it's
I
supposed to
think
be.
it is.
Yeah, it's like you have the blank screen in front of you, and you sit there and you're looking at it, and you said, okay, now it's time to brainstorm, and then nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so I'm trying to look forward here, but just sort of flipping through your little note cards in your slipcase and says, oh, yeah, maybe it's time to write about that, or maybe there's these two, I should write about the relationship between these two. I mean, that sounds like there's already something there to get you started.
Mm-hmm. To be frank, I really didn't. Go ahead.
I'm just going on a tangent to something else. I'm an immigrant, and I actually went to college here in the States, and also not that long ago. And so beforehand, I haven't written any essays up until college. And so they taught me how to write essays, essentially. And it was a something called university writing seminar, because I guess everybody took it, but as a non like native English speaker, we had to do that. And so the instruction was very similar to this, where it was basically bring everything you're reading onto the same desk, and I would highlight, and I would have all of these things in my purview. I didn't have Rome, clearly. And then the essay sort of built itself, but I could actually stack everything in my mind somehow. I didn't have many ideas probably at that point, but like since then, that was just one course that happened in. No other essay in my life ever actually took that same route. And so I love that this is sort of bringing it back. And with Rome, we're learning how, to bring that back, that same system that actually worked. But now you don't need the anxiety of keeping it all in your mind, knowing where you stored it, and I guess many other things. But
it's lighter too. It's not as heavy. It's not as heavy. You don't have to carry on
need
all those. Yeah. It's not as heavy.
Yeah.
And if I can, I can relate to what Shimon just said. I hope I'm saying your name right.
Yeah.
As long as it is a task, as long as you're doing something for a grade, and that's like, non-native English speakers, when they are put in a situation where everything is communicated in a language, where you do the mental translation and then you put that thought, it becomes a chore. It becomes a not so joy, like what Marie Kondo probably said. So it's a big hurdle personally for me to start thinking of this as something that might result in something beautiful, or it might help you grow. And that is like, definitely a challenge that I know it is hanging right here and it's going to jump in anytime. I'm wary of that. And like, through this process, even putting myself here to listen how people think and how people respond and react and consume the information, it's a explicit exercise from my perspective to cross that hurdle. And I guess this is the right place for it.
You know what you're reminding me of is that a lot of this course is really discovering who we are as people, right? And I think about that because essentially the end goal of a Zettelkasten is a personal, it's an intellectual autobiography, if anything, but it's also a communication partner. And a communication partner, for it to be as formidable and as smart and as witty as we are, it has to be who we are. And so what I've discovered is that a lot of this is self-discovery and also self-love, if anything, because if I'm going to see a reflection of me that is not blemished and not distorted, then it is a scary sight too. It's a scary sight to accept if we've been sort of like pushing off who am I? If we keep pushing that off, and then all of a sudden we have these notes that are literally a reflection, if we do it right, literally a reflection of who we are, then I think it is important to sort of go through this process of discovering and falling in love with who we are.
This unforgettable vacation memory. It didn't actually begin here.
Oh, I thought that was a Zoom bomber. I was like, yes, we got one.
A Zoom bomber. Another thought that came to my mind is here he's focusing mainly on the creator, so the writer, but by using this technique, it makes it also much easier to read and study, because I had the insight today that how many times I have highlighted and wrote down the same idea over and over again because I was focusing on the book, you know, or the video course, and they all repeat the same ideas over and over. And by having the ideas or the Zettelkasten structured after concepts, then I can do work on a theme once, and I know I have it done. And if it comes later in a book, I just could skip it. I don't have to re-highlight and re-highlight it again and again and again. So that's one of the beauties I'm looking forward.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Joshua. Can I chime in for a second? Yeah. So anyway, I'm an immigrant, just of a different country. I live in Italy. I'm an American. So, but my children go to school here. I have a 13-year-old son. So we're kind of, he's getting the benefit of me going through this course with you folks, these fine individuals. But just today, we were discussing how to study in general. And I think teaching people earlier in life how to assemble things and how to gather the notes that they need, how to put those into some type of digestible, ball, and then recall from that, I think it's a priceless skill that I know I'm going to work on my children, and I certainly hope it continues as not just in academia, but just in life in general. Because I think like Shimon brought up, a lot of people that are not taught that, or that receive that class, say like in their undergraduate work, it's a great class. And depending on the institution you go to, you may or may not get that. And you'll go 4, or if you graduate 6, 7 years of higher education, and you're just kind of winging it. And it's kind of a shame, in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you want to keep reading, or want to keep the discussion going?
Okay. Yeah, I can do another paragraph.
Yeah, and then Patrick,
especially one that says
Patrick is on deck.
Shall I go? Okay.
Oh no, I think Mike wanted to go, but yeah.
Yeah, no, go. Mike, go.
Yeah, I
it's
love
Mike's to pass.
Yeah.
It's I love to do paragraphs that start off with "to sum it up." It just sort of like that must be the end.
It's a nice dot. Yeah, it's a nice dot at the end.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so the last one. To sum it up, the quality of a paper and the ease with which it is written depends more than anything on what you have done in writing before you even made a decision on the topic. But if that is true, and I wholeheartedly believe it is, and the key to successful writing lies in the preparation, it also means that the vast majority of self-help books and study guides can only help you close the barn door correctly, and according to official rules, not just the moment, but many months after the horse has already escaped. The reason I really wanted to read this one, or just to end with this one, is it it reminds me of one of the most important points that I took away from the book, which is if you're staring at a blank page, it's both too late and too early. And this psalm is sort of explaining why it's too late. You know, the horses left the barn, but it's equally too early because you really haven't done the work to actually start anything, because you don't have a group of notes that you can look at and write from.
When I started this process, the person who really recommended it to me, he's currently working through a PhD, and
Awesome.
he was explaining to me.
And he's
I know,
awesome.
Michael Barr, the one and only. He's incredible. He was explaining that he was using Rome and his Zettelkasten to really prepare a lot of his literature, and he was kind of explaining that he would basically have all of his paperwork and everything that he needed done by the time it was time for him to write that paper, and he would just sort of have made versions of it along the way, and that then he would just sort of finesse it all and it would be done. And as he was explaining that to me, I really couldn't even get my brain around it. Like, yeah, but how? Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to like rough hand write 47 versions in Microsoft Word? Like, I genuinely, like, I cannot wrap my brain around this concept. And just even this first little bit of reading and also meeting all of you, I actually understand what he means now, which is interesting because I'll have a meeting with him tomorrow morning and I'll be like, Michael, it makes sense. But this concept of sort of iterating and then reiterating and needing to articulate and finesse along the way. Ricky, what you were just saying, minds are for having ideas, not holding them. To me, like, it makes sense that you don't have to remember everything. You don't have to hold all the drafts. You don't have to be like holding tight to this thing that at some point you're going to start. Like, I don't know how many of you have ever had that experience of being like, yeah, I'm going to start. And then it's 12 hours before the damn thing is due. And you're like, so I'll start in 10 hours, you know, like I'm not quite, but I'm just like, I'm hungry. I need a glass of water and then I'll start. And so this really kind of, for me, I'm also just thinking removes a bit of that beginner's pain, you know, of it's like the mental version of putting on your workout clothes when you wake up or sleeping in your workout clothes so that you remove the having to put them on before you go.
I think that's really interesting, that struggle to get started. And I just made a note while we were going that there's this intimidation that comes when you start to think about capturing everything around you, and the world is incredibly complex, and even our lives and the things around us are so complex. I'm working on a documentary, and as I talk to the director, finding out about her home country and the things that are really going on there that are beyond what's in the news. Like, there's this moment where if you're going to look into something, your head's got to come out of the sand, you know, the ostrich, and it's really intimidating. And I think it's easy to stay hidden. And I have an art background, and I think a lot of it's about just trusting yourself and being intuitive. And I think that's what I'm really excited about here, is that this is a process to take your intuitive thoughts, get them down, and they can come back and be useful. So that the trusting, the intuitiveness seems to be a response to how scary it all is when you start looking at either a writing project or the entire world.
You know, I'm just listening to you all. I'm just like, you have no idea what's in store for you right now. I'm just, yeah. Like, you think you know right now, but you got no idea. You're like, yeah. And I could stand behind that. Like, yeah, your minds are going to be blown. And I'm going to watch.
I think I totally agree. Yeah.
Sorry.
I hope in a good way.
But I think, yeah, I totally agree. I think what David, you're saying is that, you know, when I tried to do this, I felt like I had to be perfect, or I tried to follow a process to get to the right permanent notes. And that's really hard. I actually was working on this book and I got about third way through it. So I'm hoping, I think, to your point, like, I want to get some quick, even though we're trying to slow things down, get something quick that says, oh, okay, I got it now. And so that gives me like enough momentum and motivation to keep going. So I'm really trying to work through this.
It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult because it is a lot of letting go. You know, what I mean by that is, you know, a lot of times I think the people that struggle the most are the ones that are sort of academically and scholarly successful, because how they're typically taught is a top-down approach where, you know what you're after, you know what you're going for. You have to get this done by this specific time. And the people that have sort of, I mean, I've seen transformations that are phenomenal when they see that, when they see this sort of bottom-up approach, exploring this bottom-up approach and really letting go and accepting that, you know. And when I say bottom-up, by the way, I don't mean it's just bottom-up. No, it's like asking the weather in Seattle. It's, yeah, Monday, Tuesday was kind of gloomy and rainy, but Wednesday was sunny. But typically when you go, how's the weather in Seattle, you usually say it's pretty gloomy, right? It's the same idea with bottom-up structure in a Zettelkasten, and is there is parts of it that is top-down where it's, you know, you have to know what you're going to go after, but majority of it is bottom-up. And it's really just, I think, understanding why that would be the case over these 42 days. And I'm excited for you. I really am. And I think those struggles that you're talking about right now is very relatable too. Because I think by show of hands, I think everyone can relate to that, where it's like, oh, I kind of want something now. I kind of want this dopamine hit of like, okay, well, where is this going? Where is this going? Do we want to keep reading? Patrick?
Yeah, I do. Okay, that's a tough spot after Michael, so I try to do the best. It is, really. So with that in mind, it is not surprising that the single most important indicator of academic success is not to be found in people's heads, but in the way they do their everyday work. In fact, there is no measurable correlation between a high IQ and academic success, at least not north of 120. Yes, certain intellectual capacity helps to get into academia. And if you struggle severely with an IQ test, it is likely that you will struggle to solve academic problems too. But once you're in, a superior IQ will neither help you to distinguish yourself nor protect you from failure. What does make a significant difference along the whole intelligence spectrum is something else. How much self-discipline or self-control one uses to approach the task at hand. And he quotes Duckworth and Seligman, 2005. And so I don't quote everything. Go to the next one. It is not so important who you are, but what you do. Doing the work required and doing it in a smart way leads somehow, unsurprisingly, to success. At first glance, this is both good and bad news. The good news is that we wouldn't be able to do much about our IQ anyway, while it seems to be within our control to have more self-discipline with a little bit of willpower. The bad news is that we do not have this kind of control over ourselves. Self-discipline or self-control is not that easy to achieve with willpower alone. Willpower is, as far as we know today, a limited resource that depletes quickly and is also not that much up for improvement over the long term. Quoting Baumeister and Bratislawski, and who would want to flog oneself to work anyway?
Can we touch upon that? I mean, I just an open question to the group here. Again, if I guess the rules of this, if you're just joining, is just sort of, you know, unmute yourself and just jump in and using, I guess, social norms that you feel comfortable with. But I think there's a pain point here that I want to just sort of explore here, where it's talking about, he's talking about IQ, yes, but he's also talking about self-control, self-discipline, and then willpower. And I just want to see, you know, how, I guess, just an open discussion with, where have you tried willpower, and where have you seen that work, and where have you seen that not work, I guess, and how what's the feeling afterwards of using willpower to just sort of thrust your way through, like we were talking about earlier about, like, okay, it's due in 12 hours.
Well, I can talk about myself here. I found that willpower works for me in short bursts, especially if there is a deadline and
something I fear, might it be negative consequence or whatever, willpower doesn't work for me over the long run, and especially not if I get bored.
Yeah.
So if I get bored and I want to push myself through something which is boring to me, that's a tough one. Then I really need negative stimulus to get myself through it.
It sounds fickle. It sounds very fickle.
It
Very,
is.
yeah.
It is for me. But I can totally relate to, you know, whenever I want to do something or need to do something and I don't make it through willpower, then of course I'm beating myself up as being too, you know, having too less willpower.
Yeah, like I'm raising my hand.
Flogging
like,
oneself.
Yeah, who isn't guilty of that?
Flogging oneself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am absolutely flogging myself.
Shame, the great motivator.
It is.
There we go. How are you, my
Yeah.
friend?
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like, you know, the Game of Thrones walk of shame, you know, where they ring the bell, shame, shame. Sometimes I feel like this, yeah.
By the way, I just want to say this while it's on my mind here. You know, the litmus test, or what do you call it? Like the measurement of whether a Rome book club is successful or not, according to Connor. Like Matt McKinley was talking to Connor, was like, hey, so what's the measurement that you're using? What's the metric of whether Rome book club is successful or not? And I had said, well, it's growth. Of course, it's always about the numbers, right? Like how many people are writing into the graph. Like I was looking at it like, well, it's how many people are writing into the graph every day. That's what my metric was, right? And then Connor was like, no, that's not the metric. If someone can come into Rome book club and they make a friend, that's the metric.
Ooh, that's good.
And I look at it like that is cool. So I just feel like, you know, I saw David pop up and I was like, oh, well, I know him. You know what I mean? And I just wanted to say that, where it's just like, yeah, like that's the point here. We're making friends too. And I also want to, say that. But anyways, you can either keep going, we can keep the discussion going, however you'd like. What was the metric? To make friends, to make a friend. If someone can come into Rome Book Club and make a friend, that's the metric to know whether Rome Book Club was successful or not. Stephen. Do you want to keep going, or do you want to?
Yeah. No, just.
You want to go to the next paragraph, or yes?
Yeah.
You want to finish this chapter? Yeah, please.
Okay, then I do finish this one here. Okay, so luckily, this is not the whole story. We know today that self-control and self-discipline have much more to do with our environment than with ourselves, according to Taylor. And the environment can be changed. Nobody needs willpower not to eat a chocolate bar when there isn't one around. And nobody needs willpower to do something they wanted to do anyway. So true. Every task that is interesting, meaningful, and well-defined will be done because there is no conflict between long and short-term interests. Having a meaningful and well-defined task beats willpower every time. Not having willpower, but not having to use willpower indicates that you set yourself up for success. This is where the organization of writing and note-taking comes into play.
Piyush wrote, I really want a chocolate bar now. That's so good. We'll go to the next chapter.
That's going to be my permanent note. That'll be a permanent note.
I love it. Oh, look, International only got to here, so we're passing them already. Look at this. We're going to lap them. Patrick, you can keep reading, or you want to pass it over to Cheryl?
No, pass it over to Cheryl, starting with a new chapter.
I wanted to say something quick about willpower, whether it's relevant or not. To me, that something like this, the best place to stick to your diet is in the supermarket.
That's right.
Say that again, please.
The best place to stick to your diet is in the supermarket.
Yeah.
Don't buy it. If you don't buy it, you don't have it. You don't need willpower not to eat it.
That's an interesting concept, actually.
I think it's a double-edged sword. If I'm hungry, willpower is not going to help.
Don't go buying anything while you're hungry.
Right.
Yeah, like Doritos is my jam, and it's like if I have Doritos in the house, they're gone. So it's like, yeah, if I don't buy it though, I'm okay. It's interesting. Don't shop when you're hungry either. Yeah, exactly. Is Cheryl here?
I am.
Hi, Cheryl. Would you like to read?
Hi there. You can hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Then chapter 1, everything you need to know. Wow, I'm so excited. Until now, writing and note-taking techniques were usually taught without much regard to the overarching workflow. This book aims to change that. It will present you with the tools of note-taking that turned the son of a brewer into one of the most productive and revered social scientists of the 20th century. But moreover, it describes how he implemented them into his workflow so he could honestly say, I never force myself to do anything I don't feel like. Whenever I'm stuck, I do something else. A good structure allows you to do just that, to move seamlessly from one task to another without threatening the whole arrangement or losing sight of the bigger picture.
Why do you like, he brings this up a lot where he talks about, never, like Luhmann never forced himself to do anything he didn't feel like doing. Whenever he's stuck, he just did something else. What do you think that comes from? Like, what does that mean?
Well, when I look at that, partly what that brings up is an awareness of moments in my life where someone wanted to try to force me to do something, or I did something because I was trying to avoid being pushed, I don't know, aggressively pushed to something I didn't want to do, where I knew, right? And so that then it's making a choice within myself to not compromise or make do with those kinds of attitudes towards myself. So that when I'm stuck, then I know that part of it is I've come to a place where what I'm in the middle of, that's not the path to continue. So you go do something else.
I wonder, I think it might be like he's actually a good planner, or that if you have a good plan, then you're always going to be doing what you want to do because that's what you plan to do. And within that plan, though, you have to allow for some flexibility. So I'm trying to use like time block planning right now. And to me, it is a good structure because I can plan out what I want to do. If I wanted to surf Instagram, as long as it's planned, then I don't feel like I'm wasting my time. That's the idea.
Curious though, like in that, then do you stick more to like then I have an hour for Instagram and an hour for this, but what if during your Instagram time you actually want to write, or during your writing time you actually want to Instagram? Do you kind of flex there?
Well, yeah.
I read this and I think, oh, flex is sort of the name of the game.
Yeah, I'm still working it out, but I think the idea, this comes from Cal Newport stuff, like the deep work, and that's why I'm doing it, because I'm working a job and we've got a lot of meetings. You have meetings on the calendar, like when am I going to get deep work done? And I would say writing is deep work. So yeah, I mean, to your point, I don't have a direct answer for that, but I think the idea of planning is this good structure. And then this complements that, because it's the idea that, this is your input system and hopefully output is going to come from that.
How much do you think like personality proclivities and idiosyncrasies like fall into that too? Because some people thrive in sort of like very rigid structures and others are sort of disabled by it. And I just, I've seen both, and I feel like what he's talking about here, I think it fits for both as well, because if you have a rigid structure, and you feel like, you're stuck, then you can easily move a time block over and and it's the same idea. And if you're more on the being very open and flexible side, then, well, if you're on the hammock and you don't want to be on the hammock anymore, you can go right. And it's the same. I feel like it's, you like both, all idiosyncrasies, all personal styles can fit in that idea. But I think it's just the idea of sort of like frictionless or not forcing it, I feel like.
Yeah. And I actually, I think you did actually now jog my memory on how he talks about that, which is, and Leah, this is your point. Like if I decide like, this is not a good time for Instagram, but it's a good time for writing, I just change my schedule. And, as long as I'm intentional about it, so, it's like literally writing it down on the time block and saying, cross off the, Instagramming and write in the writing section. That's fine. And then you get better at it.
I think obviously Lumen had
What's that, Curtis?
Obviously Lumen had a very significant drive by evidence of the task that he took on to begin with, and that task being rather far-reaching and rather broad, and it was going to encompass many different facets in order to bring it together. And so I think in his case, it was a bit of a combination of him being very, very, very motivated to go down the path in which he chose. And so therefore discipline was somewhat inherent to him going down that path. And so for him, he could say, well, I never do anything I don't want to do, because for him, he could just flip to a different thread. And there were many, many threads available for him to flip to. And as a result, he could always go with where he was able to flow, due to the fact that there were many tributaries all leading into the same river of his intention.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
One
that
thing
was
that
also
comes
a
to
good
my mind,
metaphor, Curtis.
yeah, Curtis, one thing that comes to my mind is if, by your definition, or if I do something against my will, or if I do something that I don't feel like and I force myself, is it because my vision of what I can do is too small, because I limit myself too much? Isn't that something that you could think about? Because he had this big drive because his vision was so big that way he needed to span such a broad area of topics. And if I see, for instance, someone who has a small vision about himself, who only thinks about a small topic, and spends a lot of time on working something he doesn't like, on being forced to work for something, is it maybe because the vision of one's interest is too small?
And I think that's definitely a role. And I think another contributing factor might be just the almost like most of us, I think most of our struggles come from incongruency of soul.
You dropping bombs today, bro.
Yeah, like shows up. Hi, welcome to the club.
Incongruency of the soul. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Soul. That is, yeah.
Deep.
One thing that would help, though, and maybe this is a little bit off topic, is that it would really help if you had a critical mass of ideas or topics, because it's a lot easier to say, I'm going to put this one down and go over and do that one because I feel like doing that one. But if you only have one or two, you may not really feel like doing anything at the time. So it sort of sounds like there's a little bit of work, maybe a lot of work, just to get going here.
Let me ask the group here. How many notes do you think it will take before you hit a critical mass? Because that is the transformation. The transformation happens when you can see your thoughts talking back to you in a way that only a Zettelkasten can. So it's as a communication partner, at least. So how many notes do you think that is? How many connected permanent notes do you think that would be?
I don't know enough about connected permanent notes to know, so my brain feels like the emoji.
So how long do you think it would take? How long do you think it would take?
I'm going to say a couple years. This is Joshua. That's kind of what I put on it. When I looked at this endeavor and I kind of got wrapped up into this, I'm looking at constant input over a couple years, and then I can have reasonable expectations back from it. Until then, I'm just feeding this machine.
I think that starts much faster. I think
so.
I think if you really start doing this one and focusing on 2-3 interesting topics, and you get, maybe, I don't know the critical mass, but let's say 100 notes, I think you will see benefits even after 100 notes, maybe.
I think, yeah, and I think it's somewhat related to the topic specificity and what you've taken those notes on. And my reference is only, maybe you've seen, some of the folks have seen that, you know, Nate Eliason's video on how he creates an article. And I hope that's realistic, because I looked at that and I said, okay, that's how it works. So, you know, I don't know how many articles, he had maybe 10 or 20 articles and he had notes on.
So just to my experience, it's a lifelong journey. So that critical mass, like, it's a lifelong journey. You just have to accept it. If you're going to invest this time learning how to do this, you only have to learn how to ride a bike once. But once you learn how to ride a bike, you can train to do the Tour de France if you want, or you can just ride around the block. But it's a lifelong journey, yes. But in my experience, it takes about 40 hours of critical note taking, anywhere between 3 to 6 months before you see a critical mass. 180 to 120 permanent notes before you start seeing it talk back to you. And that happens when you forget the notes that you wrote and you have this moment of insight, because as you're traversing through your Zettelkasten, you go, oh, wow, I remember writing this, but I forgot it. And so, and also connecting one note all the way down here with a note all the way up here. So it's reassuring, but you have to also understand that it's 3 to 6 months with no other gratification. You're basically pouring critical, focused writing time into something that you're not going to feel any dopamine hit until you hit that critical mass. So that's the rub.
Yeah,
No?
Hugh, I think you're hitting on a really important point that tripped me up. And I tried to read this book, How to Take Smart Notes, beginning to end, and use the process. And I think that was too much. But if you can use the process across a series of content, like I think what this paragraph is saying, you know, I'm tired of reading this book, I'm going to go read another book. And as long as I follow the process, I'm going to, you know, achieve permanent notes. And so I'll be building up that, you know, that data, but I won't be getting stuck on one particular book.
Can you reword that again so you can help me understand this?
So if I say I'm going to take permanent notes, and, you know, I'm going to basically take fleeting notes, I'm going to take
literature and permanent
literature notes, and then I'm going to achieve permanent notes. And I say I'm going to do it the correct process. I'm going to start with this book, How to Take Smart Notes, which is what I tried. And I got about a third of the way through, and it became exhausting, because I felt like I wasn't, you know, extracting enough permanent notes, or I wasn't getting to a permanent note that it felt really hard. And so if I can go through that and say, you know what, I generally get the process, but let me jump to this other book, which I'm enjoying, and just go through the process, and then realize that, you know, eventually permanent notes will come, and not put that pressure, then I'll feel more successful, or I feel like, you know, the process is working the way it should, organically, not forced. The reason I stopped is because it felt like forced.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that I see as the underlying issue is that maybe it's because you're not the one that's learning it, because you're taking in someone else's way of doing it. You're taking in someone else's personalized workflow.
Right.
And that's not what I'm telling you. Like, this whole 42 days isn't about that. I'm not going to tell you how I do it. It's going to be, how do you do it? How do you do it? Because that's the only way that it's going to stick. That's the only way that it's going to work for you, because there's no way that it can work otherwise.
Exactly.
And
No,
so
that's
I'm frustrated that there's so many people that are just telling you this is how you're supposed to do it. And they're saying, hey, take this fucking course. I'm like, no, that's fucked up. And then I have to deal with the brunt of it, because everyone's like, well, I learned from this, and it's an evergreen, and it's a this. And it's like, no, where are you in the equation? This is for you. This is for you to figure it out. But the hard part is getting people to do the work to figure that out, because it's so like, everyone is selling something, you know, Rome Book Club is free. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't argue this. And I just look at it like, That's how you get them. That's how you set a new precedent, you know? And I think it really comes down to, you know, you are going to get a dopamine hit every time you write a new permanent note. Yes. And I've instituted it a way where it does. And I'll explain that later, but you're not going to feel like you're getting a return on your investment, because it takes time to write out a real note. Like, how long did it take you to do day 4 and day 5? If you did to day 5, it takes 45 minutes. And like, bombs could be going off. Like, that's how it has to be. But if you do that for 40 hours over 3 to 6 months, you have this feeling of this, like, think about how big is the boulder that you carry on your shoulders that says, I need to remember this.
That's pretty big. Don't know about you all.
Yeah.
Well,
and the relief of that. Why do you think I'm doing it?
I'll tell you,
That's why I'm doing it. You know,
mine's not so big because I honestly have gotten to a bad habit of I read stuff, then I almost like know that I won't remember it. So it becomes this, you know.
What do you mean almost?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, then it is more. Then it's not a stone on your shoulder. It's a Sisyphus stone. Yeah. I mean, it rolls down and you pick it up with the next book and roll it up. Forget about it and read the next book, and you always roll the same boulder up the hill. So that's the problem that I want to solve.
Yeah, so, and I have to be honest with this, that it's hard. It's hard. It's hard getting to that point.
So Bo, I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. My understanding is that Luhmann did not write a permanent note based on every idea and everything he read. He chose ones that were of interest to him, and he let the others go. Didn't mean that the others weren't good or important, but he just did the ones that were interesting to him because, well, he wanted to do it, and so that was part of what we read earlier. So if you're trying to read a book and capture every single idea in it, I think that's not what Luhmann was doing.
But it's how everyone's taught, though. Everyone's taught to highlight everything. But the thing is, the reason that Luhmann could, it's called digesting too. That's how we digest. That's how we digest information. Is that the reason that he's able to do that is because he has a conversation. He has a communication partner who he has a dialogue with, and because he's having this conversation, he doesn't need to seek out all these other things. If he already knows about this, he doesn't need to write a new note about it. He's like, oh, I already know that. I already have a note that's like that. That's already knowledge. And so when he's reading books, like this is what happens. It's sort of like this vicious. It's not, instead of the vicious cycle, it's the virtuous cycle. Yeah. And what happens is because I'm exploring the edges of everything that I know in this intellectual biography, now I'm seeking out the things that I don't know. And it sort of limits the things that interest me. So I remember I was doing a coaching session with a gentleman, and it was like, I was like, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to capture a fleeting note, okay? But I want you to capture it when it really like hits. And we read through article after article after article after article we went through 7 different pages of this. And I was like, nothing's hitting, is it? He's like, no, because I already know it all. I was like, yeah. And so now what we realized in that moment was what the information that he was consuming, this information was saccharin. This was candy. And if you wanted to come back to it, say he's just, had a long day, he just wants to veg out and read something, that's where he can go to. But if he wants to be fed and grow his knowledge, he knows where he can go to as well. And maybe that's kind of like what I hear you saying, is that the reflection that happens makes us seek out what we don't know or argue with what we do know.
I get it.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, just
one of the things that, sorry, I was just going to say, one of the things that strikes me about this paragraph too is when I first read it, I thought he was saying that if he didn't like to do something, he was changing to a different subject. But I actually think he might be also saying he can do a different task within the structure. Like I can read a book, I can summarize, I can find the bibliography. I mean, some of the stuff doesn't require any thinking. Some of it requires a ton of thinking. Some of it you need a pen and paper, and others you don't. So it's kind of like, what do I feel like doing right now? It's a little different different perspective. And the other thing I was thinking back to, let me see what his name is. Piyush's point was about the and Leah's question too about like, well, how do you switch between tasks? There's a guy who wrote a book called Workflow Mastery, and he has a technique where he says, if I write something down, I commit to doing it, like if it's in my calendar. So he gave the example of playing piano, and he said, you know, if I have an hour set aside to play the piano, at the very least, I'll sit down and touch the keys, and then he'll see where it goes. Like some days he'll, you know, play a scale, some days he'll carry on with the whole practice. But he said in other days he's like, no, touch the keys, I'm not feeling it. But he has the intention to shift into something else. It's been considered in the moment, and then he moves on to something else, which I think is a cool approach too. That's it.
I think there's an aspect of fun involved. Don't you think like there's an aspect of fun involved as well? Like when I enjoy what I'm doing at the moment, like I love this. So I want to do more of this, and I'm getting the dopamine hit from it. And so it's not a task, it's not a willpower, it's not an exercise. And I feel like, you know, if I can have fun doing things, like do you see fun involved in that at all? Like maybe fun isn't the right word, but
I think that's why we're here.
I think it's like growth. I don't know if anyone's ever like achieved something, right? Like passed an exam or achieved, you know, whatever, something very concrete. And this goes back to in high school. I studied really hard for this exam, and I did well on it. Like, and then I actually realized I really enjoyed the process of studying. And so it was that feeling of growth, like every day or moment by moment, that felt really good. So I don't really equate that to dopamine. I think that's a different feeling. Maybe it's flow or it's something else, but it's this idea of getting better.
Yeah.
It's definitely a dopamine hit, that feeling of getting better at something.
I actually have more of a question based on everything that we're hearing. If the author is trying to talk about Nicholas Luhmann and he's not forcing himself to do anything, that I think that is the utmost level of freedom that he has, where he has separated himself from what he's thinking, the system he has put in place. The question is, does it make sense to think of Zettelkasten as, you know, this intelligent, like, you know, supercomputer, Whopper, whatever you want to call it? You're asking questions. Does this make sense to add it into the database? How can you link this? What type of structure, you know, do you need to establish before you get there? I know this question, you know, you're not going to get this in chapter 1, first paragraph, but I'm actively going to seek out for how they have traversed that. And I haven't read the book, so I'm actually like jumping in directly. This is the best way I thought it would be. That's the question I have.
What I hear you saying, what I hear you asking is, you know, how are you supposed to have a conversation? You know, what, you know, is this a database, or is this a second brain, or what is this? And it's going to lead into today's lesson. I don't want to get too far into it, but it's a communication. And what is your definition of communication, or a conversation, or a dialogue? You know, who do you have dialogues with? You know, a dialogue means that they, you know, typically when I have deep dialogues or deep conversations, it's because I know the person who I'm talking to very well, or they know me very well. And, you know, they can argue the points as often as good as I can. And so I'm not sure if it's an outside thing as much as it is like an inside thing, if that makes sense. But again, that could be, that's how I look at it. Maybe you look at a communication partner as just a thing that's here outside of you that just takes in information and spits it back out like a formula. I don't know, but I think it's exploring what that analogous term is for you is going to help as you figure out what this Zettelkasten thing is.
Thank you. Yeah.
Can we beat international Rome research, please? Like, I kind of want to just get to the next paragraph. Can we just, like, we could stop after the next paragraph. I just want to get one paragraph ahead of them. Cheryl, do you want to continue or?
Yes, I'd like to continue, please.
Yes. And we've beat them.
A good structure.
We beat them. Yeah. Sorry.
A good structure is something you can trust. It relieves you from the burden of remembering and keeping track of everything. If you can trust the system, you can let go of the attempt to hold everything together in your head, and you can start focusing on what is important: the content, the argument, and the ideas. By breaking down the amorphous task of writing a paper into small and clearly separated tasks, you can focus on one thing at a time, complete each in one go, and move on to the next one. That's chapter 3.1. A good structure enables flow, the state in which you get so completely immersed in your work that you lose track of time and can just keep on going as the work becomes effortless. Something like that does not happen by chance.
It doesn't happen by chance. Well, what does that mean? Something like that does not happen by chance. Like flow state, effortless work, doesn't happen by chance. What does that mean?
Need to work on it?
Yeah, that's how I read it too. It's something that you have to build up.
Yeah.
I read it just trying to put it in the context of this paragraph. I read it is that you need a structure that you can rely on so that you don't have to think about the structure, and instead you can just do the thinking about what you're supposed to be thinking about. That's when it sort of becomes automatic, or at least that's what I think this is saying.
I have an observation here. I'm just testing this out. As I'm looking at what Sonke's writing here, I'm seeing his blocks, I think. If you look at his first sentence in every paragraph and his last sentence in every paragraph, it seems to me like they're always connected. He does it really well. A good structure is something you can trust. Something like that doesn't happen by chance. If you read the first and last sentences, it flows very nicely.
It's a good observation.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, just to jump in, that jumps out at me is the word trust, and I feel that this is another. There's another level for me, because it's not just the Zettelkasten system, but we're also trusting Rome's system, like that technology piece. So that's a bit of a jump for me as well. Yeah.
I'll say that, it's not that Rome is the only one that can do it. It's just Rome is the first one that was sort of brought to the market and was ubiquitous. And it really, all it is just block level technology. And Rome happens to have inline, like I'm not paid by Rome. You know what I mean? I can use whatever tool. You can't necessarily do it in other tools that are markdown file editors, like Obsidian or Evernote or Notion, but Foam, I think Logset can do it. I know Athens can do it. They're nearly there with feature parity. So it's sort of like, yeah, if Rome burns tomorrow, it's like I can just save my EDN files, and my intellectual autobiography can easily move over to an open source platform. Is my sort of way of looking at it. But it's really the technology of the block.
I need to make a fleeting note. I'm sorry. EDM, what?
EDN, Eden files. .edn is the backup files that Rome uses. Rome burns. I see what you did there. Yeah.
Okay.
And
this actually will go far to help with my trust work concerns.
Of course, of course. Now, I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah. I'm the furthest thing from a computer programmer, but I just know that it's the granularity, of the note. That's the technology that I'm maximizing here with everything that we're going through. And all it is saying we're taking the idea of the folders and we're saying we're getting rid of that, and we're saying everything can hide and expand inside of the block with that wall of text. And that's really where the power is, multiplied by the frictionless writing that happens as well. Can you do that in other sort of closure-based applications? Of course. You can do that right now. Do I prefer Rome? Yeah, because I kind of like Connor and the crew. Like, I've met them. It's like, they're real. And it's like, I like his vision. You know, there's only probably 2 other people in my life that I've met that had a higher context of what they wanted to achieve in the world. And it's just, yeah.
For what it's worth, Sonke's website, which I think is just a couple pages, indicates that he's currently using Rome.
Mm-hmm.
I want to bring up another point. This
hey,
Bo. I really appreciate and find it fascinating that you several times have mentioned it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It's like excitement and great, and yeah, and just remember it's going to be hard, because I've been thinking, like, what's my central takeaway from this reading room, and I'm thinking about that, and I love it that you keep reminding us of that, and of that great point a couple paragraphs ago about, which really, the first time I read it, really struck me, where he says that, where Luhmann said, like, I never force myself to do anything. And it's like, okay, is there going to be a little conflict with this? And I just want to take the stand that, maybe, I think sometimes some things might require forcing. I don't like that word and the connotations of it, but like some things, like someone in the chat said, like most good things in life are hard. And it might take some, again, I don't care for the word forcing, but something else is going to have to be called on to, I think, to come up to the challenge. Because I think, Bo, you know what you're talking about. And so I just think that there's something, and I'm talking to myself also about, and I forget the fellow with a bit of some kind of maybe British accent was talking about vision. And I know that's one thing that helps me when I have a vision, then I can do more of the hard thing. And I mean, definitely I am riding on some of your all's excitement. I mean, I had been thinking about doing this anyway. I'd wanted to do it last time, but decided to do the other book group, and I'm still doing the other Sweetgrass book group. But some of the alums from this are in the Sweetgrass group, several of them. And their excitement in our first group last weekend, they were just like,
I'm sorry.
well, they were
I'm sorry.
Fire. They were on fire. And it was like, Julie, what kind of fool are you? Get into that group right now. And so, like, that's part of my vision, is seeing these people who did, who put on the boots and did the slog. And sometimes, maybe they had to force themselves sometimes. So I'm just want to say that I'm hearing you, Bo, and it's not the first time you've said it, that, it's going to be hard too. And like, you're jazzed and excited now, and there's going to be a time when you are not going to be jazzed, like almost for sure. So I just wanted to put that in, kind of to talk to my future Julie, like we did in that first writing. It's like, okay, Julie, in day number 12 and day number 23, when you don't want to do it, you can do it. Just write 15 minutes or
Do you think, I don't like the word forced either. Do you think maybe it's making difficult decisions? Because I look at like a decision predicates action. So it's a difficult decision that I need to make, because the easy decision is chocolate cake. The harder decision is, crap, I got to sit down and actually do the daily exercise.
Yeah. 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 I forget who it is, but there's somebody out there who writes about the desirable difficulty. And I love that idea that, you know, it's difficult, but damn, I am committed to it. You know, like that. I desire that difficulty because I have caught some glimpse of the treasure at the end of the rainbow, or the pot of gold. So, yeah, difficult decisions.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like difficult decisions are much easier when we're doing it as a group. That's what I've realized. It's you know, when there's a community component to it.
Yeah. That's one of the things in I think the first day writing, I was thinking about some of what was difficult, and I thought about, okay, what are things I could do to help me through those difficulties? And one of the things on my list was become pals with some of the people in the group. And that will help.
It's just put me at so much ease. I don't know. Are you guys feeling that too? Does everyone just like,
So like Julie, you show up and everyone is just like, right.
I feel like everything's gonna be okay. That's what it feels like, you know? Everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Do we want to continue?
And thanks, Bo. Your excitement in this is a real it's a real gift.
It's an honor. It's an honor to be of service.
Can I chime in real quick? This is Joshua. I'm actually getting ready to sign off here. We're closing in on midnight on this side of the pond, and I got to be up early. But two things came up, if you folks can hear me all right. I think Bo touched in on trust, and then this idea of flow state. I don't think you can achieve, in fact, I know you cannot achieve a flow state in anything, be it an athletic endeavor, a musical endeavor, without trust. And that's something that you have to set up. It doesn't just magically happen. And I think when they're talking here, especially when he says he doesn't do anything he doesn't like, I think he's definitely in this area where he enjoys, that's his life's work. He's doing what he loves. So he might love something a little bit more, but he's never going to be outside of that trusting, I guess you could say, presence. That's it. That's my take on the flow state. I think if you can achieve that, it takes time, but you can set it up like if you're a meditator or something, kind of along the same lines.
How would you define trust?
See, that's an individual thing though, because you can look at,
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, animals trust. You can have two people. I mean, I'm kind of a dog person. You can have two people, and the dog will trust one over the other purely by initial impression. You know, you folks may or may not trust me based on, you know, my first, actually probably the first 2 or 3 words out of your mouth. So that's an individual thing. So your threshold, your tolerance for pressure or being forced to do something is different than mine. Your ability to trust people on the internet is different than mine. But in the end, it's my decision, right? I trust who I want to trust. This is my endeavor. This is my Zettelkasten, and this is my project. So that's what I got out of that paragraph. I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to everybody. I look forward to continuing the conversation both on the graph and in future book clubs. I'm going to sign out here, folks. I appreciate it. I wanted to read a little bit, but we got plenty of time left. But I got to get some sleep. So
Thank you.
Go.
I think what that reminds me of is like, it's like the air, when you get on an airplane and they talk about the oxygen mask. I say this all the time, but it's like, you got to put it over yourself first, you know, before you can help anyone else. And it's like, that's why it has to be like selfishly, like, this is what I want in a Zettelkasten. This is what, you know, this is the trust that I want in a Zettelkasten. Yeah, I thought we were just gonna read a freaking book, man. Jeez, I feel like, yeah, like the world is just like snapping into place right now for me. Okay. Shall we continue reading
Bo.
discussion? Yes. What's up?
Hi. I actually want to build on like this concept of trust that we want to like. We've been going off on like this huge tangent, and I really want to continue. Also, like, hi, I'm Russell. I've been like holding myself back over like the past hour and a half from like saying stuff because I've been like really engrossed in everyone's conversations and everything. But like that concept of trust really rang true for me when we were like honing in on this article, mostly because you know, I tend to like hold my trust back in kind of revealing myself to other people at times because sometimes I can't trust my own self when the things that I say kind of like ring true to other people. And so like I realized now like through this book, or at least in that or in that like little paragraph, that like we as humans tend to outsource trust to structures, be it like a community or a Zettelkasten or any other like structures that make up the contents of our lives. And you know, it's really hard to kind of move around in the world that we live in without like having these structures to rely on. And so I think like it's really important to like try to at least find those places that you can put your trust in or build on top of those things so that you can kind of develop that sense of trust. And I hope that with the things that I'm saying, I can start building this trust with you guys. Also, hello. Again, my name is Russell. Nice to meet you guys.
I have a question for you. Do you have an example of like, I don't, for me, I like the idea of role modeling, you know, and it's like, if I don't want to reinvent the wheel, what is a good example of trust?
Let's actually build off of the metaphor that you did on day 2, I believe, on the trapeze artist. Because I think like that sort of thing really rings true about like the concept of trust, because, you know, imagine that you're up like 50 feet in the air and you don't know whether or not you should let go of the bar because, you know, you have a chance of falling. You have a chance that like the person that is on the other side of the trapeze can like slip and like not catch you. So at first you have to like trust yourself that you can take care of yourself, you are all right. And also, you know, you can also trust the other person that is kind of like with you on this trapeze, and that they'll actually be there and, you know, hold on to your hand and make sure that you don't fall.
Here's a question. Say you have trained trapeze artists, right? And not out of ill intention, not out of not being trained enough, but what happens if they accidentally miss and they slip and someone does fall? What happens then?
Okay, that's an interesting question, because depending
I like interesting questions.
If there's a net or not,
right? Yeah, that's actually like a good point. If there's a net, you know, you can obviously like get caught and, you know, you don't lose your life. But the person that had failed to catch you like has to make like a certain judgment call of like, okay, I'm going to talk to you and be like, okay, I can understand that if you don't catch that, the fact that I didn't catch you, you will lose that sense of trust that you have on me. And I can understand if that sense of trust can be lost, but it's kind of like a leap of, that sense of trust has to be brought back to you in a sense, or, you know, because like you can't receive trust if you don't give it, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense.
And to give trust even if you've been hurt, even if the person has dropped you in the past, not out of ill will, or maybe if out of ill will, but not out of ill will, and they still dropped, and you still have to trust. That's tough.
yeah, like you're still working with this person. Like I can imagine like in this like circus troupe, like there's like a limited amount of like trapeze artists. So like this is the kind of thing that you got to like bring in every day. Otherwise that sense of like unity sort of dissolves. So, you know, bringing that trust into like these artists must be like incredibly important to maintain.
Can I interject? So I have been in the military.
I thought you were gonna say you're a trapeze
Israeli
artist.
military.
Sorry.
And I was a trapeze artist. No, actually, I was a paratrooper. So we jumped out of planes.
Oh.
It's a different kind of jump. But you train for 3 years with the same dudes. And you wean them out. If there's somebody you can't trust, they gotta go. And we had some people go. Even later, even after we were in combat and something happened that broke the trust, we let some people go because it's a tough stuff. It's a tough point. And I'm not exactly touching on everything you said, and you said it so eloquently, but just, you know, yeah, just my 2 cents.
Yeah, wow. Like paratrooping definitely has a lot more risk involved than trapeze artists, that's for sure. Yeah, like trust, I don't know. It's from what I'm understanding, it seems very fragile. You know, it really takes a lot of work to kind of build up that sense of trust in like certain structures in order for it to be anti-fragile, if I what you will. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if I got off on like super like crazy tangents about like the concept of trust and a Zettelkasten book club, but yeah.
let me bring it back full circle. You know, what if the trapeze artist was us? And what if every book that we've wanted to remember, every thought and note we wanted to remember was the person in front of us that was supposed to catch us? And with all the structures that we've tried, they slipped. And maybe it's actually not the structures that are trying to catch us. Maybe it's us that's trying to catch us, and we've slipped. And I'm getting chills right now, but what, you know, how am I supposed to trust myself that this new structure or this new system, or how am I supposed to trust the system when every other time that I've attempted to organize my notes, organize my learning, I've been dropped?
That is exactly what I wrote today in the assignment that we had today. Is I tried so many systems and got into an exciting phase, and once the rose color romantic phase of the new tool waned, you know, I found the loopholes or whatever, and I dropped the system and went on to the next. So that's the thing here. Is this the shiny new toy syndrome here, or is this the one true system? And I don't know at this point. So so I'm hoping, but I can't be sure at this point. So this is exactly the question that I wrangled with today.
Kevin Russell was like, you still have to trust him. It's like, but you still have to trust him. That's the thing. It's like, how do you do that? How you dropped me before, and you're telling me I need to trust you? Like you didn't drop me once. You dropped me like 20 times now. Okay. Evernote, Notion, Coda, you know what I mean? Like how many times have you dropped me? Apple Notes, you know, Bear Notes. You've dropped me 20 times and you still want me to trust you?
Oof. That's it, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
It is.
I think that, you know, the flip side of trust is being able to take a risk, right? And saying, and I think we all want that somewhat, because if you just stay in your comfort zone, You know, you could just say, I won't try this. I won't invest the time because I got, you know, I got whatever I am. I have my life, and I just go. Why am I, you know, wasting all my time doing all this stuff, right? So that trust is like, well, there's, you know, it is going to make your life better. I think it's for a lot of things you invest in, and the reality is people aren't happy if they're just safe. You actually aren't happy if you just stay safe. That's why we're always seeking out these things. Maybe that does go back to this dopamine thing, but I think the flip side of trust is wanting to take these risks. Russell, I really, you know, like the trapeze point. It reminded me of the Free Solo movie, and Alex Honnold has some pretty amazing quotes in there. But he's really comes across as someone who can't be happy, and he's not like trying to take crazy risks. He's actually just trying to do things that allow him to live his life. So he wouldn't be living if he didn't do those things, basically.
Yeah, like just piggybacking off of like that Free Solo movie. I haven't actually watched the movie, but like I've read a lot about like how the movie was made, and the whole like camera crew were all like as equally talented in free soloing as, you know, the main protagonist of the documentary. And so like it's crazy just to think that all that amount of like trust that they had to put into each other to like even make this thing is like monumental. And I guess like now that I'm kind of hearing like the conversations that we had about like, I think I'm thinking about this like too externally, and like I'm really trying to kind of wrangle in like this whole Zettelkasten thing, in the sense of like it being a version of yourself, right? So you're not necessarily trusting another thing, you're trusting yourself, but like some version of yourself, you know? And it's all like kind of like weird smoke and mirrors and everything, that like you think that this is just a system of like notes or like, you know, articles or like titles and things like that, but like it really is just like an embodiment of like the things that interest you or the things that like resonate with you that you take out from the world, and then can you trust that to make something?
I know who's leading Room Book Club fucking 5. God damn, dude. That's exactly what, that's it. This is recorded, by the way, so that, oof. Can you say it again? That was so good.
Replay.
That was so good. That was so good. You hit upon.
Did I put in my Zettelkasten? I don't know.
No, but you touched upon all of it, and I think, yeah, that's the goal of all this, is to discover, is to, to walk through it, walk through that process together.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have gotten to that conclusion if it wasn't for like trusting in this conversation that we've been having so far. A lot of people have been contributing to a lot of this. So yeah, thank you to all you guys, like Piyush, Bo, Patrick, Michael, everyone's named Cheryl, Shimon, Leah, Curtis.
You're just gonna name them all, aren't you? Yeah,
who's the
keep
lady
going.
that
Keep
came in
going.
that had to leave?
Julie's still here, isn't
Joshua,
she? Yeah.
Linda.
How about anyone that has, how about anyone that hasn't spoken
crazy.
up yet? Is there anyone that, you know, sort of is just on listening mode and just wants to chime in? Maybe on trust, on risk. Hey, what's up, brother?
Hey man, how you doing?
Yes, with the microphone.
I thought I hit everybody with some of the ASMR action.
God, that bokeh, bro.
Quiet.
That bokeh
know, right?
is beautiful. It's creamy bokeh. What's on your mind, brother? What are you thinking?
No, I think a lot of people have made some very lovely points, and I'm actually having a great discussion with Leah back and forth. And you know, this is the first time I'm actually like, I tried to listen to the book, and I think I got distracted or something about it. Something other bigger fire took over. That's always my life, right? You know how people go paycheck to paycheck? I go fire to fire. That's like my life. Who else does this? Anyone nod?
My hand's up. My hand is up.
I know my audience. What are you talking about? Right, Bo?
Yes.
But no, these are wonderful points that are in here. Like the stuff that they've referenced, like the losing track of time. Now, I bet this is like, I have a theory that I'm working on. I'm writing a book. But I bet how many of you guys, just nod. You don't have to like unmute, just nod, but you can get so hyper-focused on something you're interested in that you don't eat, pee, or sleep, or drink water, or like these basic human functions. You're just in it. You're in the zone, flow. What do you call it? Hyper-focus. All these different names. Anybody not do that?
Not? No.
Oh, look at that.
Definitely do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know why? This is literally the root of my theory. Is essentially we're all hunters. We have a hunter brain. And that if we understand our biology, like the way the brain is made, on top of that is the mind. Your mind is your operating system. You can change that stuff, right? You can program, you could do stuff, but the brain, if you understand the brain, the stuff you cannot reprogram, the stuff that you are wired for, the stuff they're talking about here in the book is like, I'll give you an example. I have time blindness. I process time very differently. I'm always late to things. However much long it takes me to think that I can do something, it takes me much longer. So I process time differently. So what I've had to do is I made a system. So in order for me, I'm a photographer. In order for me not to be late to my clients.
Amazing photographer, by the way. Amazing photographer, by the way. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Bo. I have to pack my car the night before. So when my brain says, okay, time to go, I can get ready, put on my clothes, and then I'm on time. But if I don't do that, if I don't pack the car the night before, if I try and essentially work against myself, I lose every time. I struggle. The only reason I know all this is because I did it, failed. And by making like little systems, little things like this, that kind of like pick up the slack, or like they assist in my blind spot, if you will. It makes it easier to do because having a system just makes it easier for brain to be like, okay, even though you don't want to do it if you just think about it, but you're like, I got a system, so it's easy to knock out. That helps us. We're basically working with our brain and not against our brains. I'm gonna drop the mic on that one. Bo, floor is yours.
Talk a little bit more about the time blindness. What is that?
So you guys should know I'm proper legit diagnosed ADHD November 2019. That's a little over a year ago at the age of 38 years old. 38. I think you know yourself by that time. It's like reset, like you have to learn everything over again. Imagine someone took your own graph, Bo, and just wiped it clean. You got to start over. How'd you feel?
You kind of pissed.
Yeah.
But I have a backup.
So that's what happened to me. So that's what I went through. And I had to just learn and observe. And through that, I'm trying to help others where I see the same pattern. And so to kind of help at like scale, at least, that's why I want to write the book. I want to put it out there. I want to put what I just told you guys, I want to put it out there and like elaborate on it. Why are we so good under pressure? Why is it that under adrenaline, we are like leaders? We're clear, we're focused, right? Because the gatherer brain under adrenaline, they're looking for leadership. They're like they're a little like sheep at that point. They need the exit signs, tell them where they go. That's when their anxiety kicks in, by the way. Why is all this? Why is this formula work? Why is this theory work? I'm trying to disprove it every day, guys. That's my attitude. I'm failing miserably or fantastically, depending on how you look at it.
You know, here's a question.
That's humor. You guys can laugh. Thank you for laughing.
Here's a question. You know, how much do you think? I just think about, you know, I used to always say, you know, times like when Luhmann discovered this in the 50s and 60s, it was a different time where, you know, he could literally, you know, wake up. And the reason that he wrote one word fleeting notes, I mean, I think I'm ruining the rest of the freaking weeks here, but why not, right? When he was taking these fleeting notes, he would use one word. But the thing is, it's not like us where today we have phones and notifications and emails and social media. So it's like when he wrote that note, that one word, whether it's, you know, let's say flow, he would write that one word, but then it's not that he just would write it and capture it and then he's gone. No, he would spend all day thinking about it, driving to work or walking to work, having lunch, at home during breaks, reading a book. And then at the end of the night, he would process that fleeting note. He would process all his fleeting notes and we go, oh, okay, flow. I remember I was thinking about this all day. And and then I also hear a lot of people talk about how Rome really helps with ADHD. And my question is, why do you think that is?
Oh, it's easy. Okay, let me describe it this way. Imagine you are like an ADHD brain, and if you feel this way, you're probably undiagnosed, and that's okay. If you need help, go do what I did. So go see a medical professional, a psychiatrist, and get an evaluation. That's the key word, evaluation. Once I did that, my life turned around. So I'm happy to say that and put that out there. So my theory is this, bro, or it's as if you have like an ultra fast processor in your head, but your RAM is like 1 megabyte. Like you can only hold so much. It's like a tiny desk that is coated in Teflon and they're throwing papers at you. What's going to happen? Slides right off the desk. How many times you meet someone 3 seconds later, you forget their name? Right? But then someone asks you a question of like, oh, I don't know, what shoes you were wearing in 1968. You're like, oh, I know. And then you could rattle that off like you've got the biggest hard drive in the world. Right? How many times have you heard the phrase, you're so smart, why can't you do this? This is where it hurts. I know, I've heard this one a lot. What about the phrase, you're not living up to your full potential? That one hurts. That hurts a lot. So to answer your question, Bo, go back to your question. This is my ADHD brain, it's going all around. Is by putting, writing is thinking, first of all, right? But just by writing or even talking it out loud or just having a sounding board helps me think. But with Rome, being able to put it down in the graph and be able to see it and then be able to put something else down and see it, I'm essentially, my brain can only handle like this much, but I'm able to handle bigger and see it larger and see it all at the same time. Because how many of you guys have out of sight, out of mind, where if you don't see it, you forget, you don't know where it is. So most of us, if you look at the desks of like Steve Jobs, people who are brilliant, their desks are crazy messy, but you know what? We know exactly where everything is. Right?
I know exactly
how do I know
where
this?
everything is.
This blows my mind. Is how do I know this? I'm saying this to you. I've never met most of you guys here. Never met any. How do I know this? It's because the only thing I know is, okay, these are the patterns of a hunter brain. That's it. That's my theory. I'm trying to prove it wrong, but sorry, I can't keep up in the chat. But Bo, next question if you want. I want to go eat though. I gotta go. So.
Wow. I love that though. I feel like what I heard you say is that the reason that it's effective is because it's no longer inside of a folder, where by the time you click into it, you're like, what was I looking for? But with Rome, everything's in the block. And with the block, it's just another block underneath it and another block, and you can see it all there. And it's not necessarily because it's not just because it's an outliner, because an outliner can do that too. But the thing is, with Rome, you can actually zoom into that. That block has a universal ID. That block is actually granular. That can open up to a page. That can have more than one piece of information inside of that one block.
Exactly right. And I love Rome for being able to just block reference, so I can have a piece of information exist. I can just visually see it in more places. I went to school for design, and one of the things I learned there is starting blank in design as well, just as in writing, is hard. So you just put everything you have in your ideas there, and then literally design is just massage and moving it around. That's it. And then we always say in design, you're not done when there's nothing, when you can. Oh, I'm messing this up. You're done. You're not done like when you keep trying to add things. You're actually done when you can't take anything more away. So same thing with design, same thing with writing. I just throw it all up there and I edit as I go. So that's why I'm writing a book. I don't know the title of the book. I do have a title of my course though that I'm building. It's not available. There's no sign up. I'm not trying to make money off you guys, nothing like that. It's just called, well, you can remember the name because I came up with it yesterday. It's called Woo Woo Science. No joke. It's an oxymoron. It's this stuff. This is woo woo, and I feel like I got a science to it.
Woo science.
Hey,
I love it.
Oh shoot. Yeah.
That is
Be
great.
scared of those that take the silliest of ideas seriously.
Oh yeah, those amazing guys. Those a gift. That's it. 4-letter words. Those a gift.
I can think of other 4-letter words. Yeah. Don't read my answers. Yeah. How long have we been going here? Just want to make sure.
Thank you for this time, guys. I'm gonna let you go.
Thank you. About 2 hours.
I'll see you guys Sunday.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's just you know, we've been going on 2 hours, right? Yeah. Let's we've got another 5 minutes here. I just want to sort of open up the floor. I guess I'll stop sharing here. I just kind of want to just open up the floor, just check in with everyone. You know, can we just do this? Let's just do this. I see about 21 people. Can we just take a minute each? Just check in. Just go round robin. Oh, you want me to call on people? Or no?
Here I am checking in with
there you go.
Val the
Thank you.
cat.
Oh my God.
She's been roaming around while I am trying to catch up with you. I've also been multitasking, which is not a good thing, but I've been launching a client's project as we were all talking. So that's why my thoughts might have been a little scattered. Yeah, checking in from Boston. Happy to see you all.
Nice. Leah, I'm just gonna go down the list.
I'm just over here like, all right, keeping up. I think my big fear in all of this, and I think I shared this on Sunday, but is actually just that I'm not like smart enough to keep up with it. And so I'm just over here like, okay, I feel like I have downloaded a lot of information into my brain. I feel stoked about the fact that I'm going to go for a walk and just think about everything we've kind of shared. And also, your dog is so cute.
Michael Walsh.
He knows it. He gets a lot of treats.
Oh man, he's just like, hello.
Michael Walsh.
Oh, but yeah, hi. I'm checking in. I'm also in Boston right now, although most of the time, most of the time I'm in Newport, Rhode Island, on the water, all that kind of stuff. So all I have to say is this has turned out to be a whole lot more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be, and I'm very, very happy to meet all of you and look forward to doing this again. Seeing you Sunday and doing this again next week. It was really valuable to me. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Michael. Payush.
Yeah, I would say, it's already successful because, like you were saying, we made a friend. I feel I made a lot of friends, and I feel a lot of trust. And I like that because I also feel like, it's a risk, not like a big risk, but it's an investment. And I trust the process. So maybe it's a cliche, but I think we all want to grow, and I'm not comfortable just doing the same thing and not seeing my growth. So I want to help everyone else grow. And to everyone who's putting in the service of you, thank you so much for helping everyone. Everyone's helping everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. Nice. Patrick.
Yeah, I'm from Hamburg, Germany, by the way, one of those German guys. And I had a real blast. Yes, I had such a blast here. It was definitely deeper than expected. And what I really liked is that we landed on the trust issue that I just wrangled with 2 hours ago during the assignment. And really, really great to join you guys here. And I'm really looking forward to the next meeting.
Eric?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Yes. First part of this, I had to finish up some work, so I wasn't able to participate, but I was listening in. It's all great content. Pretty excited to be here. I think one of the, I think one of the things I'm excited about is learning the process, which I understand Zettelkasten, and I read the book. I think getting into the flow of things is where I'm struggling. And then also the tools are where I'm struggling. So I've used ROM research a bit. I'm familiar with how it works, but getting it to work with my mind is what I'm struggling with right now. Right now, it seems to be like I use a digital paper pretty much to write. So it's kind of a step towards away from regular paper in getting a little bit into the digital world, but doing all this digitally in a digital tool for some reason doesn't click for me. So I'm hoping to see if the workflow works for me.
Yeah. Russell.
This was cathartic as fuck, dude.
Yeah, that's the idea. This is what happens when you hang out.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I really loved our conversation on trust, and like it really started to mold this mindset of what to bring in for creating a Zettelkasten. It's like, can you trust yourself to like put all these things in and get something out of it? Or just like even just putting something in a community like this and you get something out of it, like new friends, new connections, new ways of thinking. It's great. I love this. I love you guys.
Yes. Well, okay, we can stop. We can stop book club. We made friends. We're done. We hit our metrics. Nico. Hello, Nico. I think he's just listening. Hi, Cheryl. Cheryl?
I unmuted. Hi, I'm Cheryl, as you probably can tell. I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which I don't know, in some ways feels like a foreign country. I almost don't know what to say because I've been sitting here thinking and listening, and I guess I'll focus this mostly on what we just read, because there's an aspect to it that seems very alien to me in terms of how I compare it to my own writing process. And I think maybe it's partly because what I've come to, I mean, what's described, it seems much more like a process I learned in, well, probably about 9th grade and then on, and that by the time I was 30 convinced me I wasn't a writer. And given that I now am a published author, I let that process go in favor of a very different kind of writing process. And so there, part of me, and it's hard for me to even articulate that, right? But it also raises a lot of curiosity in me because I think that because I look at this more as not a journey's destination, but more of a journey itself and a process. So that's partly how I answered the writing prompt today. What do I want out of a Zettelkasten? Well, I'm not even sure that I do. So it's more that what I want right now, what I desire, is to learn about it. And so I feel like, in some important ways, I think that those paths have opened up, and that's what I take away with me today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Curtis. Yeah, there you go.
I was on mute. Hey guys, I was a part of the previous RBC3, and I kind of came in kind of late, and I was playing catch up through pretty much the entire thing. So I really didn't give it every writing exercise as much attention as it deserved because I just felt behind the power curve, catch up. And I think that was most substantially revealed through the coaching sessions that I did with Bo after the fact. And there were just things that were, I don't know, you leaned on me pretty hard, Bo. And it's good. I probably wouldn't have done this again if you wouldn't have. And so what I'm doing is just really engaging fully in the process. This is an area that there's a lot of resistance in me. I mentioned earlier that a lot of our barriers are incongruency of soul. And I think there's certain dynamics like that in me pertaining to resistance to writing. Speaking just comes right off my tongue. Thinking on my feet just kind of rolls. Oftentimes I don't know what I'm going to say before I actually say it. But writing, on the other hand, feels much more premeditated. It's a different outlet, and I look very much forward to developing, for lack of a better word, a relationship with my Zettelkasten where I can begin to learn to write in the same kind of flow that I'm used to in speaking, because there is a level of depth in writing that I don't believe speaking can touch on. There's a level of retention in writing where revelatory understandings are captured in the flow, where in speaking, revelatory opportunities can kind of come and go, and you try to grasp back at them almost as a fleeting dream. And though we can record that, the sheer voluminous nature of recording, once again, is not accessible in the exact same way that physical writing is. And so I look very much forward to implementing the Zettelkasten method. I already understand it. I've already been here, but it's not implemented as a habitual part of my life yet. There's still friction in me seeking to actually do it. And so I'm looking forward to overcoming that. I'm looking forward to experiencing this whole process together with you guys with a beginner's mind. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And I appreciate, Bo, you being so gracious as to kind of give me a second flow.
Deb.
Yeah, hi. I hope you can hear me. I've got a mask on, and I'm having some work done in the house, so I'm back and forth. But the part that struck me most was the trust factor. Because I had an experience with myself this morning when I was, well, actually it started from yesterday's prompt, because it was all about the what. And one of the hashtags that I have is dreams, hashtag dreams, right? And I've been using this system since, I don't know, about a year, but I don't know enough to even, it's embarrassing to say I've been using it a year for the amount that I know about it. Nonetheless, I wrote a thing about a dream that I had back in August of 2020. I wrote all this stuff, but you know what? In nowhere in all the writing that I did I say what the dream was about. And I'm saying, what is this? I wrote the dream. I said it was important. I said it was telling me a lot of stuff. I said all kinds of things, but I never wrote the dream down.
Ooh.
And I'm saying to myself, today, 6 months later, or whatever it is, I'm saying, why did I not do that? And the only thing I could come up with was I didn't trust the system. This dream was so it struck such a deep chord inside me that I didn't want anybody else. I didn't want to take the chance that anybody else might read it. And so much so that I couldn't write it down. And so now I know that I lost something. I lost something precious because I didn't trust the system to hold that for me, you know? And I'm saying, okay, I got to get comfortable with backup. I got to get comfortable with the system and knowing that nobody can peek my shit, you know? I can just be me and be my own mentor. Like the thing that keeps coming to mind is Escher's drawing hands. With a hand, each hand is drawing the other hand, you know? So yes. So I become my own mentor. I think that's a wonderful thing. That's why I became a believer. That's it.
Thank you.
Anyway, that's my tidbit for the day.
Yeah, I love it. Diego.
Hi guys.
Hello.
This is Diego from Lima, Peru. And this is my first session here. I am just overwhelmed by the conversation, the deep thinking around each of the paragraphs in the book. And I feel that there is something truly special. You know, I've been in some courses around PPM, but what I saw in this session was truly unique. I was an early adopter of Rome, well, not so early, but when they were in beta, I saw the potential in the tool. And when they launched the believer plan, I thought like it was expensive for me, the rate of change, currency change rate. But I made the decision to go all in the tool, to invest. I don't regret it. I use it a lot, but I think that there is a lot more that I could do in it. So I hope that through these sessions and with the discussion here live, I'm able to move to the next level. I also related a lot with, I think was, I don't remember, I think was Piyush. He said about this feeling of growth, why we are here. I think I am here because of that. I'm sure that when this meeting ends, I will be energized. You know, I already energized, thinking with a lot of ideas that you guys discussed. So that's it. I thank you all, thank both for organizing this. I hope we can talk more over the next weeks.
Yeah, nice. Thank you, bro. Elaine?
Hello, checking in from Manchester in the UK. This is my first time in the Rome Reading Room. It's been great fun. Thank you all for the welcome. It's been great to see people that I know from other places and making new friends. It feels like you're my people.
We're done. Our Robo Club's done. We made friends. We're done. That's it. We've hit the metric, okay? Who's next? Gaia.
Hey, my name is Gaia. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so I'm Gaia from Ottawa, Canada. I just wanted to say thanks for this opportunity. It's been, it's like, I know I could relate to what Diego and a few others were saying before. I didn't really speak out that much, but I've been taking in a lot of information that's been it's been going on, and it's just it's very insightful. It's very inspiring, and I'm just grateful for this opportunity. It's way surpassed my expectations, and it's just I feel like you know, it's like standing on the shoulder of giants, so to speak, and just relating to the point of trust that we were going off of. I deeply believe, I know we were talking about the trapeze artist and like the idea of like, oh, what would happen if they kept pushing you, but maybe like how I like to think of it, maybe again, it's just my personality and how I think, but it kind of relates to like everyone has a story to tell and each and every person's unique. So it's trying to maybe, you know, understand, maybe putting more emphasis on trying to understand the other person's point of view, their perspective. And the idea kind of, I know I'm throwing a lot of ideas here and there, but what I'm trying to say is that like, I know like I'm quoting someone, Jim Quick. I've heard him say that, you know, individually you can go somewhere really fast, like it's possible to go really quickly, but when you're working with a team, you can go much further. So the idea of like, okay, maybe like now in this modern day and age, we're so fixed on like getting things done so quickly, and like, you know, everything is like, you know, like up to speed and like attention and like gratification and everything. But maybe we need to slow down and take things in. But for me, this session and like what I really got out of it is like not just there's just so much that I don't know. And there's like ignorance, and I mean, yeah, I could keep going talking a lot about this, but it's been an honor and it's been a pleasure being a part of this. And yeah,
and an
really,
honor for us. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. And I really, I'm pouring a lot of my heart and soul into like the daily writing practices. So I'm really looking forward to that. And again, to give back to the community and to really, like you said, going full circle and helping others to come out and like go on this path as well. But I believe it starts from the inside out. You have to really discover yourself and transform, and then you can share that story with others. So that's me, and thanks.
Okay, so we're doing nominations for president, Rome Book Club president. I think, Guy, you're in the lead here.
What's that?
Grigori.
Well articulated.
Hey.
Hello.
Grigori is here. I am actually from Moscow, Russia. Don't ask me what time is it in Moscow. Usually I don't stay up that late.
Very nice.
I'm blown away by this conversation. I will make two observations, and they're both kind of contrarians. So first one is, I love blank pages. I was terrified by blank pages some time ago, but then I learned how to deal with them. Blank page is not that bad. It's a beautiful thing. It's clean. When I have to solve a really hard problem, first thing I usually do is I think that it's not that hard. I know a little bit of that and a little bit of this, so I will combine a couple of things and I will do it really, really fast. And when nothing works, I kind of achieve the state of having a blank page in front of me. And then I know that I will figure it out. Nothing special, just a blank, nothing. And I will have to figure it out. So it kind of works this way. Blank pages are not bad. And second observation is kind of contrarian too. Do you know how much text did you read today? It's probably 1 page. If we are going to read this book at this pace, we are not going to finish it anytime soon. But thank you very much for conversation. And yeah, it was very good.
Yes. Are you taking Braiding Sweetgrass?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. Who's next? Joshua, I know you it's super late for you too. Sorry, I didn't see you.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I won't lie. I don't think I've stayed up till this hour, at least on purpose, in probably about 15 years. So I stuck around.
Wow.
I will say that right off the bat, full disclosure, the whole Zettelkasten and Rome thing is clearly secondary to a lot of the reason I stuck around. I'm more of a people person. So I'm curious about the program, and I've used it for about 6 months, and I'm curious about the Zettelkasten, and I'm confident it'll work. But what I really like is the people. So if you're a hiker or a climber, the people you meet at the top of the mountain, at the summit, are a lot different than the people you meet in the parking lot. So the people that are willing to kind of put themselves out there and seek something that maybe not everybody does, those are the people I'm interested in, and those are the people that are here. So thank you for that. I hope that I can offer something. I'm not an academic. I'm not a knowledge worker. In fact, I came from a very different background, a very unique skill set. But so now I live in Italy. I came over here. I'm retired. I started doing some other school stuff, but no, I think this fits. I dig you cats. You're a little bit all right, but hopefully I can offer more than I receive. I spent some time reading through everybody's the content they put on there, and I'm humbled at just about every page I go to. So thank you for that. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you, brother. Nikki.
I'm going to put my video on because I trust you guys and I don't like it when people don't show up and aren't fully present. So I have been fully present here, but just didn't think you'd want to hear that. But I think just the trust and the community, I think it's just been blown away. So yeah, I've been busy in the chat just because it feels like we're connecting. But the downside to that is I haven't got the notes. I haven't made notes while everyone's been saying amazing things. So I'm going to have to save the chat and distill it later. But yeah, just really blessed to be here with you guys. I'm a bit like Joshua, not academic background, just a mashup of lots of varied experiences that I really see potential in Rome, helping me to organize, structure, be disciplined, but still have that freedom and flexibility with. And yes, I hear the pain and the trouble that I think Julie mentioned earlier about it's going to get hard and all of that. But I think nothing's worth doing that isn't hard. So kind of, she says, gritted teeth, looking forward to that. But I think the difference is I'm not doing it on my own. I feel like we're doing it together. So
yes,
that's what's made him. And it's nearly midnight here and I really should be in bed.
I think that's everyone. Is that everyone? I just want to make sure I got everyone. Did I get everyone? Everyone, it looks like that's everyone. Okay, so let's call it a day. Thank you to everyone. And I will see you. What days? I don't even know what day today is. Like, whatever. Daily lessons coming up tonight. I will see you all Sunday, and then Rome Reading Room again next week, same time, same place. Okay, I'm gonna upload this recording to the page, and then I'll save the chat and have that uploaded as well. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Great.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
for now.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
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 Night,
everyone.
Night.